Say also that there are a lot of volcanoes underneath Antarctica, and that's why the ice is
Oh
melting.
my gosh, yeah, that's a
as an
huge
aside.
issue. That to me, that is the dominant issue in any concern about the West Antarctic ice sheet. It's an unstable ice sheet. The surface temperatures are cooling, so don't blame it on warming. And they say, oh, well, the rising sea will melt it from below. Well, maybe, but not nearly as fast as under ice volcanoes are going to warm it from below. This is the issue, not global warming, with the stability of the West Antarctic ice sheet. But that's talked about as the big, global warming tipping point, that we have to reduce warming so we don't collapse the West Antarctic ice sheet. We could stop burning fossil fuels right now.
But talk more about the heat below, underneath the seas.
There's like almost 200 active volcanoes below, or volcanoes, only a few of which are active, but even inactive ones give a heat flux. So it's and in the oceans off the coast, there's underwater. It's very volcanically very active, and thinking that, atmospheric CO2 is the driver for what's going on with the West Antarctic ice sheet is rather a joke. But this is getting more attention, rightfully so. But yeah, the issue, I looked at this. There was, in the Atlantic, I pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on in the Atlantic during hurricane season. And so last year in 2022, there was this huge hot spot, in the North Atlantic, sort of off the northeast coast of the U.S., just looking at that. And then somebody was talking about, an underwater volcanic eruption in that region. I go, what? What? Why aren't people talking about this in terms of the crazy warm sea surface temperatures? So, I don't know how to reconcile the data of underwater volcanic activity and local marine heat waves and stuff like that. A lot of it's just ocean circulation, but I think some of these marine heat waves have to be, some forcing contributed by underwater volcanoes. Am I researching that topic? No, but there's enough anecdotal evidence to make me, really wonder about this. Why aren't we considering this? Why aren't people looking at this in the context of the climate issue? But the reason is because they really like this narrow framing. Everything is CO2. That way, people's careers and professional reputation and money and policy and everything all depends on this. So, people say, oh, okay, well, it was under ocean volcanoes after all. We can stop worrying about CO2. That's going to upset a lot of people. The big climate drivers are the sun and the oceans. The atmospheric composition's a little bit of a minor sideshow, in my opinion. So,
in geological times, long time ago, increases in carbon dioxide came after increases in temperature. And this is not controversial because this is known, and you can see it in many papers, and I think it might be in the IPCC report as well. There was a study published recently that came to the conclusion that this is what is going on today as well in the natural carbon cycle, which is, as we said, around 95 or 96% of all the carbon in the atmosphere. So, that's fascinating. So this is...
Yeah, I saw that paper too. I think that there's a lot of uncertainties in the global carbon cycle. We generally understand what the factors are and the directions of how things work, but in terms of a quantitative understanding of all this, I don't think we have a very good understanding. So I would not be surprised if 20 years from now we have a different view of what exactly is going on. But the party line is that 100% of the atmospheric increase in CO2 is caused by fossil fuel emissions. This is the issue. climate science is a very young field, and it's being polluted by all this nonsense. So there's a whole lot of stuff that we don't understand. And I just wish we could, get back to regular scientific business and try to figure this out rather than, the scientists becoming activists and working to cancel people who disagree with them. It's just a horrible situation. There's so many fascinating things that we don't understand, that are just ripe for, fascinating scientific research. And we're not doing it because we're working inside this little narrow CO2 box, that's driven by reducing fossil fuels. So we're in a bad place with the science, but we need to just decouple our policy, look, our energy systems and our food systems, we need to decouple all that from fossil fueled climate change issue. Yes, let's look forward in the 21st century and have better, energy infrastructure and allowing for more abundant and cleaner and cheaper fuel. I mean, let's do that. Wind and solar is taking us a step backwards. And with regards to our food supply, let's imagine, figure out better ways of making this in harmony, with the earth and replenishing our soils and all this kind of thing. We can do better, no question about that. But having all this driven by concern or thinking that we can control the climate by eliminating fossil fuels very quickly. By 2100, we're probably not going to be burning fossil fuels. We'll still be using them for materials and niche applications. But how we get from here to there, we can do it stupidly by wasting a lot of money and screwing up our land with wind and solar farms and transmission lines everywhere, and still have unreliable electricity and not being able to expand the amount of electricity we want to use for all, artificial intelligence and blockchain and robotics, for all the things that we want to do, we're going to be hampered by not enough electricity. So we can be smart about it. The reason we're rushing to wind and solar, because we have it right now, we can do it quickly. Yeah, you can do it quickly, but you can't bring it into the transmission grid. And you're going to have to replace, everything in 10 years. It's going to be crazy expensive, and it's going to be intermittent. And there's no way that we have enough land, particularly in Europe and places that are densely populated, to support all these wind farms and solar farms.